Welcome to this explainer. Ever wonder who's actually allowed to legally sign a contract? It sounds super simple, right? Well, in business law, it's actually incredibly specific. Today, we're diving deep into one core topic from our business law notes, the capacity of parties to a contract. We're going to break this down step by step, just like you're learning it for the very first time, using only our verified study material. Let's find out exactly who really has the power to sign on that dotted line.
So, here is exactly how we're going to break the rules down today. First, what is contract capacity? Then, the age of majority. Third, having a sound mind. After that, legal and financial disqualifications. Number 5 is professional and political status. And finally, some special rules for minors.
All right, let's jump right in. Section 1. What is contract capacity? The mental state for validity.
You know, when we talk about capacities in a legal sense, we're definitely not talking about physical strength or how much money you have in the bank. Capacity is strictly about the mental capabilities a party must possess to make a contract legally valid. It's basically about mental readiness. Are you legally capable right at the exact moment of making the agreement? Because without that specific mental state, the contract simply cannot be valid.
Moving on to Section 2, the age of majority, reaching 18 or 21.
Now, the age of majority usually seems pretty straightforward, but there is one huge exception you've got to know. The general rule is that crossing the age of 18 grants someone the maturity to make decisions, meaning yes, they can legally participate in a contract. But what if a kid grows up under a legal guardian? Well, in that specific case, it legally takes them around 21 years to fully establish their self-identity to enter a contract. So it's 18 for most of us, but 21 if you were raised under guardianship. Kind of interesting, right?
Okay, Section 3. Having a sound mind, being alert and calm.
The law doesn't mess around here. To make a valid contract, everyone involved has to be of sound mind. But what does sound mind actually mean in the eyes of business law? Well, it literally just means being alert and calm while signing. It requires this peaceful mental state where you're fully aware of what you're doing and you grasp the consequences of the document right in front of you.
And this concept gets absolutely fascinating when you see how it's actually studied. Looking right at our authentic, handwritten study notes here, the law carves out 3 very distinct categories of people who lack this sound mind. Let's see exactly what these notes lay out for us.
According to these legal definitions, no party can fall into these 3 specific categories while signing. First up, the notes list idiots, which the law strictly defines as individuals who are mentally retarded with no scope for recovery. Second, they list lunatics. These are defined as people dealing with mood swings or temperament issues. But wait, here is a super critical nuance. If a contract is made during a calm, peaceful situation, it's actually valid. It's only void if signed during a moment of temperness. And third, drunkards. If you sign a contract in a drunken mood, boom, it's void. But if you haven't taken alcohol at the actual time of signing, the contract is perfectly fine. See, it all boils down to your exact state of mind in that precise moment.
Which brings us to Section 4, legal and financial disqualifications, not capable according to law.
So, the law specifically flags certain groups as not distinguished from contracts, which is basically a formal way of saying they aren't legally capable of signing. We're looking at 2 main groups here. First are insolvents. These are folks who just do not have the financial capability to enter a contract. The second group, convicts, or people who have a criminal background. In both of these scenarios, the legal system flat out disqualifies them from making binding agreements.
All right, next up, Section 5, professional and political status, professional versus personal contracts.
This one is really cool. People holding certain professional, political, or official statuses have some very specific boundaries. They literally cannot enter into a valid contract based on their professional or political terms. But don't worry, the law doesn't just strip away all their rights. They are absolutely 100% free to sign valid contracts in their own personal lives. So there is a very strict wall between their official capacity and their personal capacity.
Let's wrap things up with Section 6, special rules for minors. Exceptions to the rule.
First things first, we've got to learn a bit of legal jargon. Void ab initio. Sounds intense, but it just translates to being invalid from the initial stage. Because minors don't have that decision-making capacity we talked about earlier, any agreement you make with a minor is void ab initio. It is completely invalid from the very beginning. Legally speaking, it never even existed.
But that raises a totally counterintuitive question. If a minor's contract is void from day one, can a minor ever actually enforce a contract or, say, sue an adult? you'd probably guess absolutely not, right? Well, the law actually has a pretty wild exception.
Here's the golden rule. An agreement made for the benefit of a minor actually can be enforced by them. Our notes give us this perfect real-world example to break it down. Imagine Dheeraj. He's a minor who stepped up to manage his late father's business. One day, an adult customer named Ravi buys some goods from Dheeraj's shop but straight up refuses to pay. Ravi essentially tries to cheat him just because of his age. Well, even though Dheeraj is a minor, he absolutely has the right to file a case against Ravi. If there's a genuine reason and the contract is for the minor's benefit, the law totally protects the minor and lets them hold the adult accountable.
So what does this all mean for us? It means signing a piece of paper is really just the final, superficial step. The actual legal weight, that comes from the minds and the status of the people holding the pen. We've looked at the age limits, the absolute need for a calm, sound mind, financial and criminal red flags, and those special protections for minors. It's a lot to juggle. So I'll leave you with this. The very next time you find yourself about to sign an agreement, are you absolutely sure both parties truly have the capacity to make it valid? Something to think about. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer.